Mark Ramsey, and I'm across from Mike Agovino, Chief Operating Officer of Triton Media.
Hey,
welcome,
Mark.
Welcome, Mike. It's always a pleasure.
I should say
to have
welcome you. You're in my dojo today.
That's right. I'm in Mike's dojo, as you put it. Mike, what are the economic realities of streaming today, and are those likely to be the economic realities going forward?
Okay. Always follow the money, right? So, far and away, your biggest expense in streaming is royalties. It just seemed like, and maybe they did, but it just seemed like we should have been pushing, or we should be pushing, if there's going to be a royalty paid at all, that it be a percentage of revenue royalty, regardless of where that revenue comes from, and one that certainly ratchets down where it is on the stream side. And I think they've built into that proposal is a 10% reduction, but a 10% reduction is no reduction. The costs are oppressive. It doesn't make any sense when you start examining business models out 5 years, 8 years, and 10 years for that large a percentage of the revenue to go that way. Again, I'd make the analogy of, you wouldn't pay $10 million for the rights to a sports team if you could only sell $5 million worth of ads against it. And so, that part I haven't gotten from day one. It seems to me that that's the labels should be interested in seeing audience migrate. They should want that to happen. They should want to align the broadcasters, today's broadcasters, around that thought. And when you have, no existing royalty today on the terrestrial side and an oppressive one on the stream side, you're going to employ strategies that keep the audience here, because if they go there, you can't make any money on them. And that's an illogical thing for anyone involved in the equation to want to have happen. It's a lot of these forces that are at work end up producing this incredibly illogical result where people who have spent their lives trying to get audience are trying not to get audience, and that just doesn't make any sense. So, that expense, I think somebody should still be visiting that and trying to bring those guys into our economics and look at it and try to get an alignment there, because I think there's a big lack. Why are people pulling their hair out about the economics of streaming, and why do you see it's really expensive revenue and we can't make money in streaming? Because of the paradigm today, which is ads being sold at low CPMs and the cost of an audience being higher than what you can charge advertisers. It doesn't work. It's like paying rights for a sports franchise to air their games that are a lot more than you can actually make selling ads in those games. It doesn't work. And so, that's why you see this, the reaction you see from a lot of the group heads and everything you read. Going back to these things that are being that are being put on the table today, the notion of a simulcasting of all the terrestrial ads. And I mean, it just we are taking this thing with all of this smart capability, all of this wonderful ability to deliver audience intelligence, and we are actually slapping makeup on it to make it look like this, pardon the expression, dumb delivery over here, where all we have is audience estimates. We can't match that to actual exposure to advertising. We can't match that to a purchase intent, or a click through, or anything else that C-suite folks in Fortune 1000 companies are demanding of their ad agencies and their chief marketing officers. You take it that way, and you're taking it back to the 1980s instead of taking it, toward the next decade. Well, up until now, because the audiences are relatively small and have been relatively small, it makes sense to sell them against the broadest geography possible. So in aggregate, there's enough audience to to get somebody's interest from an advertising standpoint. And so the targeting potential of online audio has not been realized in the streams that we're fishing in, and because the audience hasn't been there in aggregate to do it. We see Slacker, we see Pandora every day delivering online audience in different proportion and applying the targeting capabilities that exist in the space and doing it to their economic advantage. And so where the terrestrial guys are primarily and have been primarily fishing in that revenue pool that's a $2, $3, $1,000 revenue pool, the pure plays, like the couple I mentioned, are able to actually fish in different revenue pools, specifically the digital agencies and advertisers who are looking for accountability against a very well-defined audience and looking to engage with that audience in a variety of ways. And so they can bring to bear a little bit different solution. It's not purely audio because people aren't just listening. They are interacting with with those brands, and they're commenting on content. They're sharing content. They're liking bands and songs and all of those kinds of things, and they're skipping songs, and just the experience is an interactive one. And because it's an interactive one, interactive advertisers want to market there. And because there's a registration requirement on the front end, and those companies know who the end user is, know where the end user is, know how old the end user is, what sex the end user is, and a lot of other things about the end user, all of that data can be brought to bear in the sales model, and they can monetize that audience to a much higher degree. We are able, through the acquisition that Triton made of Stream the World and the merging of that company together with Ando Media, we are able to deploy a very intelligent infrastructure, one that allows for the targeting of individuals based upon a set of attributes that are captured about those individuals, so that if 1,000 people are in Z100's online stream, that at the same time 1,000 different ads based upon who that individual is are sent. So the addressability is 1-to-1. The other 999 people are getting an ad at the same time, but they're probably getting a different ad than the one you're getting based upon who you are, where you are, and a bunch of other behavioral attributes. And at that point in time, with that level of targetability, we're able to sell. We're in a different revenue stream with different advertisers providing a different level of accountability, and you're able to climb. And we're also, at the same time, you're doing that, and you have that data set against the end user. You're also able to enrich the offering and enable a lot more interactivity. Most people that are streaming terrestrial stations today are, sadly, as soon as they acquire the stream, minimizing the player and not interacting with it during the course of their streaming experience, which that's a passive experience. And so what we are doing through a combination of socializing the stream and over time adding personalization elements to the stream, we're creating meaningful reasons for people to interact with it, just like the pure plays I mentioned earlier have today, which is if I know I'm going to be able to skip songs and like bands and share things to a newsfeed on Facebook and Twitter, etc. If I know I'm going to be able to do all of those kinds of things, I'm going to interact with the player much more. If I'm able to see song lyrics in real time, look at bios of artists at real time, buy concert tour tickets or T-shirts from the last tour, or if all of that capability is enabled in the interface I'm using, I'm going to interact with it a ton more. that is coming for these companies, and it's stuff we are very hard at work on right now. In fact, the first Triton socialized players, or Stream the World Ando socialized players, will be in the market in January, and so they will enable the partners that we have, the publishers that utilize our tools, to register the audience on the front end, capture that data about the audience, allow the audience to comment on content, share content, like bands, like artists, and share that across the social graph, which will also, for those publishers, enable really syndication of that content across somebody's social graph. I understand the economics today and how that's driving decision making
Today.
What I'm also saying is, here's what is tomorrow for us. It's actually today for the pure plays, and so we don't have to imagine this world of possibility. It's all real. It exists today with these people who are terrestrial radio's competitors.